We've received quite a bit of interest in my Free to Be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. As you would imagine, when I am counseling with individuals in my office, I have certain goals for them based on what their needs are and what their unique circumstances are. But in an overall sense, the primary goal that I have for individuals is to help them in the process of self-actualization. Now, that's a term that just basically refers to the process of reaching your full potential or finding your purpose in life, and then learning how to put it specifically into scenarios that you find yourself in. Self-actualization is the pursuit of psychological balance and maturity and finding a sense of excellence in your life and learning how to live into wisdom. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Now, there's one huge element that gets in the way of self-actualization, and that's the element or the pattern of narcissism. When we talk about narcissism, we talk about people that have such a high need for control that they blow beyond everybody else's needs, and it's all about themselves. And frankly, as much as they crave to have a sense of significance, when you get caught up in your narcissistic patterns, you simply don't find it. Now, today I want to focus on 4 primary building stones or foundation stones that will help you understand the dynamic of narcissism. Now, I know we've talked about it from many different angles, but I want to point out these 4 things that are so central to the narcissistic pattern that hinder people from actualizing and reaching their full potential. Now, the first foundational stone for you understanding what narcissism is narcissists are guided by raw instinct. And we can even go so far in many cases as to say they're guided by animal instinct. I want you to think about times when you've been around that narcissistic person and they just react real carefully. They can have raw reactions of anger or agitation, leave me alone or get out of here. And they say things that are very impulsive. They have automatic feeling or emotional reactions. They go heavily and very quickly into the self-preservation mode. These people that have raw reactions and that just guides them are very reactive to whatever is going on in their surroundings, which is why I say that many times narcissists can be the most codependent people you ever met because they're so busy feeding off of whatever's in front of them. Now, when we talk about raw reactions, we're talking about narcissists bringing life down to its most basic. Are you going to feed me? Now, whether we're talking about food, are you going to feed me psychologically? Are you going to feed me sexually? Are you going to feed me as far as my ego goes? They want to be fed. Am I going to be protected? Is anybody out there going to harm me? And so they just have this raw, visceral reaction to life. And I'm sure that as you think about the narcissistic people in your life, you can see that there's so much of that it completely blows thoughtfulness and consideration right out the window because they don't go to that place. Now, a second foundational stone to understanding narcissism is they have a very egocentric reaction to the world in front of them. They're so focused on themselves that they're unable to incorporate understanding or an appreciation for the views or the needs or the feelings of other people around them. It's like, well, it's all about me. I just assume that you're supposed to think just as I do. And so as a result, they have no empathy. They very quickly and willingly other people. And in other words, it's like when you show yourself to be different, it's like, what's wrong with you? You're not in my club anymore. They are offended by people who are very different from them rather than thinking, I can really learn from this. It's like, no, it's all about me. And they're constantly wondering, how am I coming across? What are you doing for me? How do I stack up around here? What's going to happen today that's going to make me feel a whole lot better? And if it's not what I want, then how do we make that happen? They're extremely egocentric. A third foundation stone to understanding narcissism is they have a very strong propensity toward binary thinking. All or nothing, black or white. They have no room for nuance. They have very little curiosity. And when you begin thinking about it, life is lived in the gray zone. You know, I can have my thoughts and my reactions to a particular event, and then you can come along and say, well, but I see it a little bit differently. Well, the binary thinker says, well, one of us has to be right and one of us has to be wrong, and it's not going to be me that's wrong. That's how they operate. As opposed to having a more expansive way of thinking that says, well, if you think this and I think that, let's put our thoughts together and let's see what we can come up with. And they don't think that way. They don't want to learn. They don't want to go into the place of nuance because it's all or nothing, good, bad, friend, foe. That's the way they operate, and they have a very difficult time being pulled out of that. And then finally, a fourth foundational stone to understanding anger is that they operate with a very strong judgmental attitude. They think of themselves in their egocentric ways as being very special. And so it sets them up to think, now, there you are. Where do you stack up next to me? And so they're constantly wondering about where they are on the chart. Are you better? Are you worse? And of course, it's in their vested interest to say, well, I'm superior, which means you're no good. And so as a result, they have no problem criticizing you. They have no difficulty in letting you know where you've gone wrong. If you dare to disagree with them, they feel victimized because you have committed the cardinal sin of saying you might not know everything. And so they think in terms of win, lose, high, low. Relationships are a competition to these individuals. And they'll go into invalidation and smear campaign and all the rest that goes with it. So when you look at these four cornerstones, or these four foundational stones that help you understand narcissism, you have raw instinct, egocentrism, binary thinking, and then judgmental thinking. Those kinds of ingredients set up their world view. And it actually becomes part of their alternate reality because they can hardly get beyond those kinds of ingredients. And as a result, they see reality as they need to see it. Do you understand that? Because they have just this raw, almost animal instinct, because they have this very egocentric way of looking at the world, it's like, well, when someone comes along and says, well, there's a whole lot more that you're not looking at, it's like, no, I can't go there. They have very low levels of trust. They become very agenda driven. They have an almost complete inability to make room or accommodate diversity or complexity. They don't deal with complex situations at all in relationships. In addition, it makes them hyper focused on the things that they fear. If you come along and say, but there are some things that are really different, then they interpret that as you rejecting them, or you deeming them as being irrelevant. They don't want to be vulnerable, and so because they don't want you to come along and make some sort of pronouncement. And so they have all sorts of fears as they engage with other individuals, and it all breaks down, frankly, to the lack of trust. And then in addition, these four ingredients make them see reality through a prism of anger. You'll notice that when you're around these individuals, they have a constant undertow of agitation and irritability, and it kind of goes back to that animal instinct, that raw instinct. There's kind of this underlying, what are you going to do to me now? And they prefer to go into the bully mode or the intimidation mode as opposed to being intimidated. You see what I'm saying? Now, these are some characteristics that you don't necessarily read in the textbook, but once you get into the mind of the narcissist, it's like, yeah, there it is. There are those four foundational stones. Now, you'll notice that one of the things that I say consistently through my videos, DRC, Dr. C, stands for dignity, respect, and civility. Those are characteristics that are a part of the actualization process. And let's just understand that if you're going to go into that actualizing mode that I mentioned at the very beginning, you're going to need to move beyond these base ingredients that I just mentioned about the narcissist. In your actualizing, in your becoming a fuller person, I'm hoping that you can focus on characteristics like learning how to be communal with others, showing acceptance towards people who differ from you, operating with wisdom as opposed to the black and white, being inclusive or knowing how to affirm, showing love, being collaborative with each other, especially in conflict. Having a sense of patience and self-restraint. Those are characteristics that are a part of the actualization process, and they're lost on the narcissist because they're stuck in those 4 foundational stones that I just mentioned. So I'm hoping that as you're able to at least see it in these other individuals, you'll realize these are stunted people. They've not grown very far beyond the functional level of life, and as a result, they're rather dysfunctional in the way they do things with you. But I'm hoping that you can recognize, even if they can't join you in the actualization process, that's going to drive you to say, I'm even more committed to being that healthy person. I can't be held back. I can't afford to be held back by somebody that's just down there at that very base style of living. And I'm hoping that you're going to be able to engage with people who do know how to go on the journey with you so that you can get far beyond where these people are able to go. And I hope that videos such as this give you some insight to ponder and think about, and I'm really hoping that it's part of your growth. And I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of that growth trajectory with you. If you've not yet subscribed, I would encourage you to go beneath and hit that subscribe button, and that bell will come up and it'll give you notifications if you click the bell. It won't ring, but hit the bell anyway. In addition, we have a Surviving Narcissism membership now. You'll see below that we have a join button, and it'll allow you to get on the Surviving Narcissism's Team Healthy. And we have, I do a Q&A now on Wednesdays, and Laura does hers on Mondays, where we actually answer questions that you all bring along. And then we also have other videos and articles that are strictly for the people in that membership. If you have a need for counseling, throughout my entire career, of course, I encourage people as much as you can. Get some people that seek out counseling if that's something you need. If you have someone in your area, I would encourage you to do so. If you don't, we have a sponsor, and there's a link below that will take you to online counseling. We've received quite a bit of good feedback, and that's the way a lot of people like to go, and I would encourage you to seek that out if that would be a need of yours. In addition, we have my Free to Be course. It's not just a small thing. I put a lot of work into it. There's 6 modules with many lessons, videos, and writings that go along with it, along with personal reflections kinds of questions. And we also have links to books and other resources below. Self-actualization is where we're wanting to go. We never get all the way to the finish line, but we want to just continue to be in a mode of growth. Narcissists are not able to go there, but I'm hoping that as you commit yourself to that, then you're going to find yourself to be a bastion of steadiness and stability. And especially, I'm hoping that you can find your place of well-deserved peace.